Good morning to you. Welcome. This is the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. My name is Gesire Agua. You're welcome once again to Voice of the People 96.1 FM. By the way, we are live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. We're live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. Join us on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. And of course, the front page review is that show that looks at all the headlines in the news and sort of give you a bit of perspective to some of them. Of course, we'll be speaking with at 7:30. We'll be speaking with Rufai, Oseni, just to put a bit of context to some of the headlines that we've got this morning. Meanwhile, in the news today, we have the president appointing Adeola Oluwatosin Ajayi as the new Director General of the Department of State Services. Chief Ajurin Gelale, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, announced this in a statement on Monday. The Inspector General of Police, meanwhile, Kaide Egbetokun, on Monday ordered a manhunt for the sponsors of members of the proscribed Islamic movement in Nigeria, popularly known as Shiites, as well as those who killed 2 policemen and injured others. About 97 suspects have been arrested so far. Well, this is what the police has said about concerning these individuals. If you recall, 2 policemen were killed after that altercation with some members of the proscribed Islamic movement in Nigeria, and the IGP had ordered a manhunt for the sponsors of members of the IMN. About 97 suspects so far have been arrested. Meanwhile, the president expressed enthusiasm on Monday following a report that the GDP grew in the second quarter of this year. The NBS put the growth of the GDP in the second quarter at 3.2% on year. That is far above the 2.51% recorded in the same period of 2023. Well, a lot of people have been faulting this report, but you go ahead and let me know what you think about it. Well, the federal government has said, or rather the NBS has said, that the GDP grew in the second quarter. Is this the reality of the GDP in the country, as the race to raise the IGR to a certain level so as to strengthen the naira, which is the goal at the moment? We'll watch and see how all that plays out. Meanwhile, as from next year, individuals below the age of 18 are not eligible for the examinations conducted by West African Examinations Council and NECO. That is WAEC and NECO. This is what the federal government said on Monday. The minister says candidates under 18 will no longer be allowed to take WAEC and NECO exams. The federal government announced that individuals under that age will not be able to. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, disclosed this on television on Sunday night. He also clarified that the government has directed WAEC and NECO to strictly enforce the age requirement for candidates that are taking these exams. I mean, this is one thing that is of concern at this point in time, looking at the fact that we have a lot of politicians, we have a lot of people in the civil service who have, in one way or the other, altered their age. Are they not forcing parents to do so at this point in time? A child who's already in primary 5, or a child who's already in SS3 or SS2, as it were, will not be able to write the WAEC and NECO exam. So, I mean, it's a cause for concern at this point, but what exactly do you think about it? We are the voice of the people. Let's know your thoughts on it, right? The age limit for the UTME, according to Maman, the policy is not new, but has been in, it's been in place for some time. He emphasized that the age limit for the UTME conducted by JAMB also remains set at 18 years. Maman reiterated that both the NECO and WAEC will no longer permit underage students to sit for their examinations, stressing that candidates must have completed the requisite years of study before being allowed to write the examinations. Well, we'll watch and see how enforcing this will, take place at this point. Meanwhile, we have the PDP in Edo State getting into a bit of good news. Godfatherism, talking about Ighodalo, the PDP candidate. He has said that he won't repeat some of the mistakes of people in government around managing relationships with predecessors. The candidate of the PDP in the forthcoming September 21st elections in Edo State says he will make independent and informed decisions if elected governor of the state. Ighodalo, who was a guest on television on Monday, said he won't repeat some of the mistakes of people in government, especially around managing relationships with predecessors. He assured voters in the state that he was not coming into government to serve the interest of any godfather. The forthcoming governorship elections in the state has top contenders, including Ighodalo, Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party, and Monday Okpebolo of the APC. Each of them stalwarts in their own. They're strong in their own capacity. We're waiting for September 21st to see what the people of Edo State will decide. Now, you have an Ighodalo, former chairman of the NESG, secured the endorsement of the incumbent governor Godwin Obaseki, who shunned his deputy and party man Philip Shaibu. There's been that rift between Philip Shaibu and the governor of the state, Godwin Obaseki, and they've been embroiled in a protracted conflict over political succession in the state. And before now, Godwin Obaseki had parted ways with his predecessor, Adams Oshomole, in the build-up to his re-elections in 20, challenged the outcome of the election. Gates lacked the locus to challenge the outcome of the PDP primary elections in Edo State, keeping Ighodalo, or as the PDP the PDP governorship candidate in Edo. On the privatization regarding the hospital administration management, as well as the corporates behind fraudulent deal, Godwin Obaseki and the PDP candidate Ighodalo are planning to rig the elections in September. And he said, don't dance too much and allow them to compromise the electoral process by stealing the PVCs and deny you the opportunity to vote. We will defend those rights. I will Dr. Ganiat Popola strike, which held across the country. We also have the federal government threatening to shut errant filling stations as petrol hits 1,000 naira per litre. MS at exorbitant rates. I mean, that's what the NMDPRA is for. Who attacked and killed 2 police officers on Sunday. The Commissioner of Police in the Federal Capital Territory, CP Benneth Igwe, has stated. Let's take a listen to what was said.
Surprised that members of the Shiite movement, or whatever, the IMN, whatever they call themselves, decided to come out en masse brutally. 2 of them are already dead. 4, including the woman police, is unconscious, all of them, with different injuries they inflicted on them. For the fact they have started this, we are going to hunt them.
Now to security concerns.
All right. Well, that was the voice of the IMN member. It's been eroded over time, particularly in political matters. We'll watch and see how all that plays out. Meanwhile, there's been a bit of a backlash on Sheikh Tinubu, who was present at the inauguration of Justice Kekereko. It's been asked as to what his presence was doing there, why his presence was needed there yesterday. Anyway, we'll find out more of that in just a moment. Meanwhile, Okonjo-Iweala has talked about Nigeria today is not where it should be, and Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, she was a keynote speaker at an event.
After independence, the NBA annual general conferences are still looking at themes like rebuilding Nigeria, charting a course for nation building. I say this not in recrimination or even in futile regret, but rather as part of moving our country and advancing its interests. We are living in very difficult times, locally here in Nigeria, but also globally. We have seen protests in this country a few weeks ago, but we have also seen, so we can have the right type of conversation, not about blame games or recrimination, but about what we actually need to do to tackle present and emerging problems to assure a bright future for our young people in this country.
That was the voice of Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala talking about some of the issues Nigeria is facing at the moment and the step forward for Nigeria. Some people have asked her to save her breath, that some of the leaders that we've got today are not necessarily looking at the growth of Nigeria, but looking for ways to fill their pockets. Well, we'll watch and see how some of this drama plays out. Meanwhile, the IGP talked about how some of those 20 students who were kidnapped were rescued by the police.
Officers engaged the kidnappers in a well-coordinated tactical offensive. I am pleased to inform you that the kingpin of this notorious gang was neutralized during an exchange of fire with our operatives, while 2 other members of the gang were arrested and their weapons recovered.
7 other kidnapped victims also regained freedom.
Other passengers, 5 of them, and 2 other victims who had previously fallen victim to these heinous criminals were also freed.
The kidnapped victims are...
All right, well, that was the conversation from the IGP, Kayode Egbetokun, talking about the medical students who were kidnapped and how they've been rescued by the police. Well, kudos to them on that front. Meanwhile, we have the VP Senator Kashim Shettima, talking about joking about his appearance at the 2023 edition of the NBA conference in Lagos, where he trended for about a month on the internet. If you recall that look, he was wearing sneakers on a suit, and a lot of people did drag a like small generator. But let's take a listen to what he had to say about it.
Just before we won the elections and got sworn into office, no thanks to the NBA conference in this same Lagos, in this same venue, I pinned down and trended the internet for almost a month for wearing sneakers to I thought that will be the last time I will be invited or I will speak at your conference. However, it is revealing to see that wearing sneakers or not is not a requisition to be at NBA events. Actually, I was the hottest revelation. I could remember the famous Nigerian author, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. When we were holding the conversation up here, she was busy taking my pictures, and I was wearing my Mango Park suit. I had to retrieve my
And that was definitely on a lighter note right there. I mean, you just have to like his sense of humor at this point. Anyway, that was the voice of the VP Kashim Shettima, Senator Kashim Shettima, at the NBA conference yesterday. Meanwhile, we have this voice note talking about the education minister, talking about the fact that it's painful to see Nigerians get their degrees, some with a 2 second class upper and some with a 3rd class, only to compete in the same market with individuals who probably didn't leave Nigeria, most of whom have 1st class certificates. This is according to the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, on fake degree certificate holders from Benin Republic and Togo. Let's take a listen.
It's very painful for me when you see Nigerian students toil for 4, 5 with 3rd class. only to compete in the market with people who have degrees, probably who have not even stepped out of the shores of Nigeria, because a lot of them have not even left this country.
And offering those degrees,
they got those certificates from there.
But they bought them, or just some form from racketeering?
It's a racketeering.
People sit at home here.
Yeah, they pay some money here, and then they have agents, who go and do the paperwork with the immigration, with the institutions over there, and then they have a certificate. And usually, such people will have first-class, high-grade certificate qualifications. And to me, honestly, these are even danger to our country, because somebody is, it's very painful.
All right. Well, that was the voice of the Minister Tahir Maman talking about fake certificates from those Togo and Benin Republic schools, universities, some individuals who buy fake certificates and come and frustrate the working force here in Nigeria. Anyway, we'll be having a conversation with Rufai Oseni in just a moment. Try to establish contact with him while we take a break, a short, very short break, pay some bills in just a moment. Stay tuned. All right, you're welcome back. This is still the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. Just a recap, patients are groaning as NAD strike grounds hospitals. Remember that the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors yesterday commenced a 7-day warning strike to push for the rescue of a Kaduna-based doctor, Dr. Ganiat Popola, who was kidnapped last December. And if you do the calculations, she spent about 8 months in the abductor's den. We're live on YouTube. You can join us at Voice of the People Abuja. We're live on YouTube, Voice of the People Abuja. And you can always call 0808-312-8618. 0808-312-8618. You're welcome.
Okay, Gessie, good morning, bless you. So, concerning, just go to my Instagram page, you'll see that live interview I did. You can just replay for all of our listeners there. But it's quite very sad. They're also going to be on channel television today, and the push is on. Dr. Ganiat Popola should be released, and they must free her, wherever she is. As we're thanking the police for the release of the kidnapped people in Benue, we're also saying that they must free Dr. Ganiat Popola, and they must quickly free her as quick as possible. Another story I'd like to look at this morning is the issue of, the GDP growth, 3.19%, but it's not reflective of the economy. And in fact, in real terms, GDP has decreased. Do you know that, like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said, that from 2000 to 2014, that's when our GDP did grow. In dollar terms, our GDP has decreased from 2014 downwards since the APC pretty much took power. In fact, as last year it was over 300 billion. Today, with the devaluation of the currency, our GDP has gone to about $253 billion from 300 something billion, and from 500 billion it was when we rebased our GDP in the oil sector in month-on-month analysis. Also, yes, the non-oil sector did grow about 94.5%. Oil is just taking about 5.4% of our GDP and all of that. But when you look at 0.19 GDP growth, no, that's not it. Amidst all of this, we're having a big deficit. Between 2023, like budget release, we only raised 5 trillion. But today we spent about 19 trillion. So that's the status quo of the economy, which is a very sad one. Also, I'd like to pay tribute today to the first Nigerian to win the medal for us in the Olympic, Najib Maigu, the boxer. He died in Austria. About over 10 years ago, it was said that he was blind in 68 Tokyo Games. We just pray for the continuing repose of his soul. So based on the fracas that ensued in Abuja and led to the killing of 2 police officers, 97 share members have been arrested. We just have to point this out, There's the share members and there's also the IMN, Islamic Movement of Nigeria, which necessarily all their members might not be shares. I think Islamic Movement of Nigeria, because of the transaction case, have been prescribed. And so there should be a clear distinction among them. But the police issued a very strong remark yesterday. They said they are still investigating this and they'll see how all of this pans out. And killings, assassinations, very sad in big cities like Lagos. Only yesterday we had the news of one of the monarchs killed around the Chevron Drive area of Lekki, Monarch's son, which is a very sad one. People just came out of a bus and they opened fire on this man and they snuffed life out of him, which is a very sad reality of the insecurity situation we keep complaining about the country. And fuel increase is still on, because people are not seeing fuel to buy. I don't know how much you're buying fuel in your area. It's over 1,000 naira in some parts of Lagos here. We're still seeing black markets and very strong queues everywhere. So the state of the economy is still at an all-time low. You want to ask me a question?
No, I was actually going to go to this NAD and I was actually going to look at what exactly has happened so far. The president had talked about a policy to bring back 12,400 doctors, and you're talking about one individual whom you've not been able to secure. Hello, can you hear me?
To bring back 12,000 what?
12,400 doctors. The president was talking about a policy, signing a bill to sort of encourage doctors to come back to Nigeria and work here in Nigeria. And you have this situation where there are several abductions of doctors so far. First it was farmers and now it's doctors. I don't know what the target is on doctors.
It's definitely that policy is going to be challenged, because when you look at it, you want doctors to come back home. Doctors have been used to better working conditions. See, it's not because of only money that doctors leave. Nigeria. I hope you know that. Doctors want equipment to be able to practice their trade properly. You don't have a lot of those equipment. Wasn't it the other year that Saudi came to do recruitment for doctors? You know, the thousands of doctors that went to write that recruitment exam for Saudi Arabia. So you just want an enabling environment to be able to work. So what have we invested in the healthcare sector? Probably if the money President Tinubu said it was used to build the coastal road, he used to invest in the healthcare sector. Maybe we will not shout this much. If he said, okay, you know what, I'm going to take 15 trillion and make Nigeria's healthcare sector fit for purpose across the world, a national healthcare rejig approach. So it's not just about signing agreements, it's about working as regards making things work. Most of these doctors, you think they really want to leave Nigeria. They don't want to leave, but the conditions are not palatable for them.
All right. So still in the economy, right? We talked about a 3.2% increase in our GDP and all of that, but we're still seeing states that are asking for more money. We're seeing 21 states of the Federation seeking loans amounting to about 1.65 trillion naira to fund their 2024 budget deficits, despite the increase in allocations they've received from FAC in the last 1 year. From June 2023 to June this year, all the 36 states and the 774 local government areas, they've received a total of 7.6 trillion naira from FAC. That's a huge increase. This is due to the removal of petrol subsidy and all of that. But the point is, we're still having increments in loans that states are taking, even though we're not seeing an increment in development. I don't know where the shortfall is.
The truth is, that's why all the states are highly mismanaged. We should also look at our governors and look at people that lead some of these states. You know, some of the governors in some of these states, we know their antecedents. You know they can't manage anything. You know, some of them are rogues, one way or the other. You know they can't manage anything. And you, because of political convenience, you give them these positions. They're going to flutter it away. And that's the challenge we're having with the states. And that's why we must do better to check them. But also, you see, let's be realistic. Most of these so-called FAC arrangements, they are saying that there's an increase in FAC. At what value of the Naira? Go and check. Last year, they might not be sharing this much when the Naira to the dollar was 400 and something. Today, the Naira to the dollar is over 1,600. The value is already greatly depressed. So when you collect that money, it looks big in Naira, but it's worthless. Is the value of 1 million Naira still the value of 1 million Naira as at last year? At least at last year, 1 million Naira give you about $2,000. Today, 1 million Naira cannot even give you $1,000. I hope you know that. So at what value? At a depressed value of the Naira? Is that what you're calculating? So that's another factor. But that is not also to exonerate the state and say they should also do better because they are lacking a lot. But the value of the Naira has gone down tremendously. But also amidst all of this, at least let's even see what they are doing with the money. Those are the challenges. Take, for instance, yesterday I was talking to Ighodalo, the Edo State PDP governorship candidate. And I had to raise a case about water. And he was saying by their calculation to do reticulation of water will cost them about billions, over 60 billion naira. So when you look at it, what is the this thing? What is the state of the economy, or what is the revenue? And in a year, their IGR is about 64 billion. And to do water reticulation alone will cost them over 60 billion. So at what rates? At what level? These are the problems. It's a largely poor system. Don't deceive yourself. Let me shock you. The state of Pennsylvania in America has a budget of a little over $30 billion. That's the entire budget of Nigeria. That's what one state has in America. In fact, I can't even compare with states like Florida or, states like California, because their budget will be close to 2 times Nigeria's budget. So that's just it. There's nothing, and that's what hurts me the most, that out of all this crazy amount that is not even enough, people are still trying to steal all of this money. The money is crazily poor. It's crazy poor.
All right. You had mentioned the Edo State PDP candidates, Aswe Godalo. I just wanted to pick your brains on Edo State and the PDP, the drama going on in Edo State. What exactly is your take on it?
There are lots of drama everywhere. It's politics season. We just want a level playing field. Like Aswe Godalo was saying yesterday, some of their members have been constantly attacked and all of that,
Yes.
and we just want fairness. We don't want political witch hunts across board. We just want fairness and all of that. There's been a lot of polls. Some polls show that Aswe is leading. Some polls show that Olumide Agbata is leading. Some polls show that, in fact, even me, I did a small poll on my Twitter page. Over 3,000 votes have come in. Labour has 7%, PDP has 20%, APC has 10%. You can say that's bias or anything, but whatever it is, let's give a level playing field. Let's not have high-handedness be the order of the day. All right, so that's just it.
But your Obaseki's administration so far, how would you rate it? They got into a spat between Adams Oshomole and the leader of the Aswe Godalo, the deputy director media of the Aswe Godalo governorship campaign. That's Reverend Olu Martins. They were in a spat and they were talking about the fact that Oshomole's administration has been one of the most corrupt, chaotic, and most dishonest of all administrations that has ruled Edo State so far. And he was also praising the Obaseki's administration.
I mean, if Olu Martin says that, but Obaseki played a role in that Oshomole's administration, so they both share in the blame of the corruption. You see, that's why I don't like to put Martin in their politicians' matter. Because when it's good, they say it's sweet for them. And all of them too had both said things and have threatened violence. In fact, I think Olu Martin was picked up because he threatened violence too. So he has no bona fide to say, and he calls himself a reverend, and he threatened violence. So you cannot, encourage all of that. What we just call for is level playing field. There's been a lot of shootings and killing, like that case when Shaibu was coming back to town and all of that. We don't need all of that. Let's just, because in the end, we want to serve people, So if we want to serve people, let's try as much as possible to ensure that people are served. That's just it. And stop all of this fighting and bickering. That's just it. So...
All right. Thank you so much, Rufai, for your time this morning.
Bless you, guys. Yeah, bless you.
All right. Okay, to you listening, this is the opportunity you have to call 0808 312 8618. 0808 312 8618. Olumide Agbata of the Labour Party, Aswe Godalo of the PDP, and the APC candidates. I don't know how come his name is eluding me right now. All right, so we have those three candidates, and right about now, there's a rush for the seat in the state. So. Yes, Okpebolo. Yes, the APC candidates Okpebolo, they and the PDP's candidate Aswe Godalo, as well as Olumide Agbata. The three of them, they've been in the campaign season. September 21st is close. Next week is September, and of course the road to the elections is very near. So you want to be very careful, especially in terms of violence in Benin, in Edo State. You do not want violence in that particular area. But I'll try as much as I can to reach out to some other stalwarts in the state just to get a feel of what's happening in Edo State. 0808 312 8618 is the number to call to be a part of the conversation this morning. 0808 312 8618. You can also leave a comment on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. Leave a comment on YouTube, Voice of the People Abuja. Go ahead and let us know what you think about any of our headlines this morning. Just a quick revisit of some of the headlines. We had NAT on Monday commencing a 7-day warning strike to push for the rescue of a Kaduna-based doctor called Dr. Ganiat Bukola, who has been in the abductor's den for 8 months now, since September last year. Also, we had NECO, the federal government, saying on Monday that WAEC and NECO exams will not be written by individuals below the age of 18. They're no longer eligible for the examinations conducted by WAEC and NECO. Well, we also have the president expressing enthusiasm yesterday following the report of the GDP in the second quarter by the NBS. They put the growth of the GDP in the second quarter at 3.2% year on year, which is far above the 2.5% it was last year for the same period under review. I mean, you also have to look at the fact that sometimes when MBS brings out some figures, you begin to wonder if some of these figures are manipulated for the benefit of one agenda or the other. I mean, does it really tell the reality of what is on ground right about now? In this moment in Nigeria, does having this particular figure, does it reflect the views of the current realities in the country? NBS has produced some of these figures that are a bit questionable by a lot of Nigerians, but we're watching so far to see if that is the reality of Nigeria. Meanwhile, we had the IGP on Monday ordering a manhunt for the sponsors of members of the proscribed Islamic movement in Nigeria, popularly known as Shiites, as well as those who killed 2 policemen and injured others. About 97 suspects have so far been arrested. Meanwhile, there's a difference rather between the IMN and members of Shiites. Maybe the police will be able to do justice about just telling them apart in terms of these arrests that they're taking on. Meanwhile, we have a new DSS DG. The president appointed Adeola Oluwatosin Ajayi as the new DG of the Department of State Services. Ajirin Gelale, the SA to the president, announced it yesterday. So these and many more form the headlines this morning. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We hope that you've learned a thing or two, or you've heard one thing or two about the country. Meanwhile, we have some conversations about the judiciary coming up next with our guest, Larry Oguego. Of course, he's going to do a bit of justice, looking at the swearing in of Mrs. Kekereku, and just how much rests on the shoulders of our judiciary, how much of our democracy rests on the shoulders of judiciary getting as much